With the growing prevalence and acceptance of queer and LGBTQ+ people in society, media has followed, telling more queer stories and having more representation. Because there's now an audience for queer media and stories, the act of queerbaiting has also come along, where promotional material misleads on the presence and prevalence of queer stories in a piece of media to try and appeal to a queer audience. Queerbaiting is frustrating to the queer community because it tries to earn money off of the community without actually telling queer stories or supporting queer people. Many TV shows have been called out for queerbaiting, but now also musicians are being accused of queerbaiting. I personally believe that these accusations are both damaging to the person and the community and are fundamentally incorrect. I'm not alone in talking about queerbaiting at the moment, and yes, I was also inspired by Billie Eilish's new album, Hit Me Hard and Soft, where she has songs about liking other women. I will not be going into a lot of detail into her experience. Other people have done that. I will be talking about queerbaiting in general. Because queerbaiting comes in the discrepancy in promotional material and the final product and how much it focuses on queer themes, this is often messily transferred over to artists, as the musician being assumed to be straight and then producing music with queer themes. Notably, there is a difference between a company intentionally producing promotional material that is different from the final product it is based on, and a person who is assumed to be straight because of heteronormativity writing about their feelings, which aren't always straight. That's why I believe musicians being accused of queerbaiting is fundamentally incorrect, because it doesn't really fit the definition of queerbaiting, but that's just semantics. I am the bitch who cares about semantics, though, so I will be going into it. As an aside, I am kind of ignoring the weird middle ground of K-pop idols who are told by their management companies to act queer or like they are attracted to another member in their group to appeal to that audience. That's kind of more on the side of a corporate decision to queerbait and not really these people just acting how they are. But that's messed up on a whole nother level too. I would not be talking about queerbaiting accusations on musicians if it was a victimless crime, but it is. The act of accusing someone of queerbaiting reinforces the older conception of the binary of you can only be gay or straight, when there are all sorts of other identities, and not wanting to choose a label is completely valid too. There are also people who identify as straight who still will have queer experiences or feelings whether or not they decide to date the same sex. I also think that more people are moving towards a more complex understanding of love and affection that doesn't need to be defined or strictly romantic dating or straight or gay or has a specific label. People are becoming a bit more fluid with the whole thing. An example of a musician exploring more complex sexualities while not being out as anything is Katy Perry with her song I Kissed a Girl. Now, Katy Perry has admitted to being bi-curious, but she's not really come out as anything or publicly dated women. Yet she still has this song about this real experience she had, kissing a girl, enjoying it, and also feeling the complicated feelings of wrongness because she grew up religious and was taught these homophobic ideas. In her song, she is complexly analyzing this, to a pop beat of course, but it is still a queer experience that she had that is still valid, whether or not she identifies as being queer. In these examples, queerbaiting is regressive to the community because it goes on older ideas of queerness and they're only being gay and straight, and it doesn't allow people who identify as straight to explore their sexuality. Then there's the more serious issue of forcing a musician to come out when they're not ready because of queerbaiting allegations. While he is not a musician, a recent incident of this happening was Kit Connor, the actor from Heartstopper, a queer romance, being accused of queerbaiting online, so he came out by tweeting, I'm bi, congrats for forcing the 18-year-old to come out himself. I think some of you missed the point of the show, bye. In general, queerbaiting accusations can be helpful in pressuring studios and executives to actually give us queer stories instead of just trying to get queer people's money. But when it comes to individuals, even if they're celebrities and millionaires, they still have the right to privacy and dealing with their complex sexualities in private instead of having to come out online to the whole world when they may not even be secure in their sexuality as one thing or another. They might change their mind and they might just not want to be out like that. I think we should just take their music and art at face value. If they're saying a queer thing about a queer experience that they had, maybe they had a queer experience, and we don't need to dig deep into their personal life and bully them online. I think since Billie Eilish's new album, a lot of people are also realizing that, like, hey, maybe queer baiting isn't really as much of a thing with musicians sharing music about their feelings. And maybe we should just let them live as they want to be, out or not, queer or not, and just be happy as they are.